Anyway, we got. We'll take a step in from the national level and get into the regional level here, and now go to our Seattle Seahawks, who got the win against the Carolina Panthers, 30-24. Because of course you can't even blow out a team that's trying to let you blow them out. I mean, seriously, this game, it's so frustrating watching these games because I'm watching this game and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're finally going to blow somebody out. Like, they're controlling it deep into the it was deep into the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a 20-point lead. Mm-hmm. And then the last 7 minutes, they're like, yeah, we don't have to do anything on offense. We can just, we don't really care. We just don't want to turn the ball over. We're not going to do anything on offense. And then the defense, I can't even blame the defense that much. Like, they were turned into Swiss cheese the last couple of drives there. But when you looked at who was on the field, I mean, the last couple of drives, not only were they without the four guys they started the game without, which was Jadeveon Clowney, Ziggy Ansah, Michael Kendricks, and Shaquille Griffin, they started without 4 starters on their defense. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. 4 of 11 starters were not playing for him.
Impact guys.
Yeah. And, well, Ziggy Ansah's kind of up in the air, I guess. Yeah. I should throw that caveat in there. But then, late in the game, I mean, during the game, Diggs, who's one of our favorite players, hurts his ankle, so he's out. So there's 5 of 11. And then Bobby Wagner hurts his ankle. So that's 6 of 11 starters who are not on the field. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the second scoring drive, KJ Wright came off the field for a little bit. And so that was 7 of the 11 starters were not on the field for the Seahawks. So I understand the defensive side of it more so, but it was just like, are you guys trying to make this close? Like, all of a sudden we have to get first downs.
But this is what they do.
Yeah, it's every time. They can't win a double-digit game.
It's Pete's MO.
It's physically impossible.
It was also really frustrating for me on offense because they knew that they'd lost those guys on defense, and they still went out, and I don't know if it's play calling and it's just that the coaches are being so conservative but something's happening, and it's 3 and out whenever they really don't want that.
Exactly. Until the very end when they absolutely have to have it.
And it's not like sometimes where, the games have been really close and low scoring in defensive battles and Pete's just like, okay, let's just not turn the ball. Don't turn the ball over. The defense is really good. You actually had really solid offensive performances from your 3 big offensive players. Chris Carson was having an excellent game. Russell Wilson was having an excellent game. Tyler Lockett was resurgent after basically doing nothing for over a month and came out and played really well in that game. So now to go into the home stretch with the lead, all we got to do is coast to victory, and they do this thing where they go into ultra-conservative mode, and they do it all the time. And so, like you were saying, you were thinking, oh, the Seahawks we're finally winning by a lot. We're finally going to blow somebody out.
Up by 20 with like 7 minutes left.
Well, it's a reasonable mindset, but I still go into the end of those games with it in my mind that, they're going to make it interesting. Like, I just assume that it's going to happen at the end.
You're so smart, Justin.
Seriously.
But it's not that I'm smart, it's that I'm pessimistic by nature.
Yeah.
So I assume it's going to go right back to what it always is.
And it makes sense because that's what it always is. They scored.
I just said it's not that I'm smart.
I need to remember that for the rest of my life. They went up 30-10 with 7 minutes and 18 seconds left, and it ended up being a 30-24 win. Like, what? That's how bad it was. But you're right. You mentioned that there were some good performances in this game. Russell Wilson, 20 for 26 for 286 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a QBR of 137 or something like that, or a rating. Is that different?
137.7 was his rating.
That's passer rating.
His QBR was 87.4.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Yeah. And then you look at Chris Carson. Thankfully, he was a beast, especially at the end of the game to put the game away despite penalties being called. Mm-hmm. One of which was very weird against Dwayne Brown, where it looked like he just punched a guy in the chest and he went flying and they called a holding. I was like, how did he hold the guy? His hand made contact with him for like a split second. But anyway, Chris Carson thankfully turned into a beast and just got the first downs we needed to close out the game. He finishes with 24 carries, 133 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this one, which is great because with no Rashad Penny, they gave C.J. Prosise a try, and he didn't do much of anything. Also, he fell down by himself and fumbled the football. Thankfully, Bruce Irvin's little finger nicked his foot on the way by, so it negated that fumble. But it looked really bad. He was running with like nobody within arm's reach of him except for Bruce Irvin nicking him on the finger as he fell down, and he just tripped and fell down, and then he landed on the ground, and the ball went bloop, and it was. For those of us who are hoping
the
that
nature of pro size, though, right?
Yeah.
Like he'll sometimes flash this amazing ability, and sometimes he just does things that you wonder why he's on the field.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. So I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that Travis Homer maybe gets more run later, but it's nice to know that Chris Carson can just turn into a beast and carry the load. I mean, 24 carries, 133 yards. That's a heck of a day. That's a workhorse type day that I think they're going to need from him for the rest of the year.
And I think going into that final stretch, he was under 100 yards still. So he came up with 30 plus yards during that time when they really needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Dwayne Brown. This is a little off topic, but did you see the Dwayne Brown tweet where he was questioning what the NFL guy was saying? Okay, so Warren Sharp, who's a NFL media guy, I don't know exactly.
Yes.
Oh,
Sharp
yeah.
He says Dwayne Brown legit quit mid-play to complain to the refs and got Russ sacked. And then you don't really see a lot of pro athletes defend themselves on Twitter, and usually if they do, they get mocked. Exactly. So he says, hard to block when your helmet is almost knocked off your face mask being pushed. I know you can't relate. This isn't what you do. At me next time, Geraldo. I thought, I read it and I was like,
hashtag go Hawks.
Hashtag go Hawks. I thought, okay, so he might get crushed for the fact that he has rabbit ears and he's paying attention to this.
Yeah.
I thought this was actually kind of a clever tweet.
I thought it was funny.
It was
really
funny,
yeah.
but I don't like the this isn't what you do argument. The guys that are like, you never put your hand in the dirt, you never played the game, and
it's the whole thing that you can't.
Mayfield did that a few weeks ago too.
Yeah, it's the whole thing that you can't understand unless you've done it.
Yeah.
And to some point, I mean, you can't get into the intricacies, but you can say, you can make judgments. You can have an opinion on something even though you've never done it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing. I mean, there's a lot of things we've never done that we're allowed to have opinions on.
Sure, and you may have someone who there's lots of guys in the media who have played the game.
Yeah.
And you might get different insights from them, and I think that's the value that they bring. But those guys also don't understand the other side.
Exactly.
Like the guys who are media guys that never played the game know things that they don't know about how the game is covered.
Exactly.
So it's all about finding the balance between who's played and who hasn't played. And I remember actually there was an interview semi-recently with Ed Reed because he's been wanting a coaching job, and he was making a really big deal about how you got to have players, you got to have guys who have played the game. And I was like, sometimes if you have guys who have played the game, they get so focused on getting guys who played the game exactly like they did that it actually clouds their judgment and makes it worse. So this was a total rabbit trail here, and I'm sorry I sidetracked us, but I thought that was interesting.
It is very, and it leads to an interesting discussion though, because sometimes the best players don't make the best coaches.
Yep.
Because they can't understand
Like
all the technicians, all the technical stuff that you need to do things when they're so naturally good at everything, or they're such a freak athlete. People used to ask Mariners pitchers, hey, so young Mariners pitchers, hey, what have you learned from Felix and working with them? And it'd be like, nothing. I can't throw 95 with a ball that moves 4 feet.
95 is so slow now.
I know, yeah. Well, not for a starter.
Not for a curve.
Not for a starter. But that's the type of thing.
You can't hit triple digits. You don't belong in the majors.
I think a big thing that you touched on earlier though is the Lockett resurgence.
Yeah.
I think that might be the most important thing that we saw from this game, is that he looked like he was back for fully healthy and fully effective, and Russ was making throws to him that seemed like the trust was completely back. And that's huge, because that's when this offense was absolutely rolling and we were thinking, oh, this offense can carry a lackluster defense. It was when those two were playing absolutely amazing, and Russell's game really took a dive. I mean, you mentioned that Lockett has been almost non-existent. Well, Russell was playing at an MVP level until that happened, and then it seemed like it was good, but not great. And I think Lockett is that thing that makes that difference.
Yeah, because you have to go back to the beginning of November when Lockett caught a touchdown pass or had over 43 yards in a game. Because in the Tampa Bay game, he had 13 catches for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then he went
Wow.
3 catches for 26, 1 catch for 38, no catches, 4 catches for 43, and then comes back with an 8-catch, 120-yard and a touchdown day.
Yeah, and it absolutely.
And he's your number one.
Yeah, and I think he's got to be. Like, we have Josh Gordon and we have DK Metcalf, and I think those are good pieces to be around him. DK's touchdown catch was awesome today. It was finally the type of thing that you want to see. Like, hey, you're 6'4", make that small cornerback look like a small guy and catch it over him. Like, go moss some people. You're a massive human. And he did, and he got both feet in, which is also a good sign from a rookie receiver. And then Josh Gordon, they actually threw the ball to him down the field. He makes a crazy catch where he dives full extension, fingertip catch, and then I was like, man, how did he control that? I was expecting them to have to look at it and overturn it, but it went from fingertips to in the elbow pocket instantly. It was amazing how quick it transferred from fingertips into absolutely secure before he hit the ground. His arm was under it. It was amazing. Now, on the other hand, probably shouldn't be having Josh Gordon throw passes too much. Because that was not good.
His quarterback rating was 0. Just so you know.